Bria Edwards for three, and it's good.
Out to punt, three ball, yes sir!
Caroline Warden for three, and she buries that one.
Potts now saves it in bounds. It'll be to Copeland, to Upshaw, layup good!
Line into Johnson, open inside, lays it up and scores.
Upshaw, lob to Buford!
3-2, a shot, and it is good!
What about you, Raiders?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Paint. I'm joined, as usual, alongside head coach Rick Insell. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great, Allen. Doing great.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do the show last week with the Groundhog Day luncheon, so I really just want to touch on a little bit of that Marshall WKU weekend series. Great wins overall, but Bria, Ty, they were the usual sellers. But talk a little bit about Abby, especially in that WKU game where she had 16 points and 4 for 9 from 3.
Well, I think she's growing up a little bit. She's maturing, she's getting older, she's gotten stronger. She spent a lot of time in the weight room this summer with Coach Riley and with Bria and Ty, and I think right now it's just now taking effect. She knows that she's got to do more. She's got to do more defensively and do more offensively, and she's accepted the challenge and she's doing a great job.
You mentioned her, Bria, and Ty. They spent time with Coach Riley in the weight room. Is that really what's led to their success this year? That's why you're not really surprised with their numbers?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Gabby Lyons is another one. When May rolls around, everything is voluntary, and those four they came back and spent their own time working out with Coach Riley and with each other this summer. Well, you look at right now what four are excelling, and you got Bria, you got Ty, you got Abby, and you got Gabby. So, and the freshmen were not on campus at that time. And so, I don't think there's any doubt about it. That's had a lot to do with it.
Now, with those 2 weeks, you had Bria Edwards with those 2 games, 17 points against Marshall, 19 points against WKU, National Player of the Week. She's been in those national rankings as far as three-point percentage and all that, but to finally get recognized, what does that mean for you as a coach?
Well, that's something that you really don't set out to be any of your goals or something that you talk about with your players. You're happy for your program because that kind of gives it credibility, and it helps in recruiting. But it's something that you don't have a team meeting and say, now we're going to work on making you National Player of the week or National Player of the year. You give them a system and you provide everything that they need, and then really it's up to them. And what Bria's done, she's very worthy of the awards that's come down her way, but also the fact that we've got a great media relations person in Tony Stennett that stays really up on what's going on across the country and makes sure that our kids get recognized for the things that they do. And if you hadn't got that, and I've been there before where I didn't have it, that's tough. That's tough. That's a full-time job within itself, what Tony does for our program.
Now, moving to your guys' road trip recently, at FAU first before you went to FIU, but at FAU, your post scored 39 points, which is the most all season. Alex Johnson, 19 points, Gabby Lyon, 11 points. How key were your posts overall in that game?
Was that FIU or FAU?
FAU, sir.
I think at FIU they got 45, didn't he?
I think so.
I believe. If someone had told us early on that this was going to take place, you'd had to wonder. We felt like, Tom Hodges, myself, and Shalon, that they had the potential to step up and do more. And what we asked of them was maybe go 35, 33 points a game, maybe 18, 19 rebounds a game. But when they started coming in with 39 and 44, 45 points a game, all that does is kind of takes the pressure off of Ty, Bria, Abby. And, that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, when there's two people covering Bria Edwards everywhere she goes, someone's going to be open. What you got to do is catch and finish, and that's what we were able to do.
And you mentioned that with all the success they had inside, your guards were able to shoot 9 of 14 from the three-point line. How deadly can you be if you can keep your posts with that offensive production the rest of the year and hopefully in the conference play to open up your three-point shooters? Because, like you said, they're always doubling Bria or doubling Abby when they get hot.
Well, I think that gives us a chance to win the conference is what it does. When you got a combination of both, you go into a game or you go into the tournament. Going into the tournament right now, we've got 4 young ladies that we've used every game, and Tiana Porter, Gabby Lyons, Becca Reuter, and Alex Johnson. Well, as of late, in the last 10 days, Jordan Majors now has started stepping up. So, in particular, yesterday we used her more than we've used her all year. So, if we could bring her around where we could also use her when we got into the tournaments, you're going to need that depth. And then on the perimeter, we've got another couple out there in Jess Loro, which has stepped it up and is doing a pretty good job defensively now. We've always known that she could do things offensively, but defensively is where we really were lacking with her, and also Katie Collier. So right now we're pretty pleased with what we're seeing with our young ladies that are coming off the bench, their attitude that they have on the bench, and also the attitude they've got when they get in a game.
No, I do with the FIU, like you said, before the FIU game, the most it was 39 points. Then they go on to do 45 points. How do you keep that sustained for the rest of the season?
Well, we're going to throw the basketball to them. We're going to give them an opportunity to produce. Again, that'll be up to them. And, of course, a lot of it goes with matchups also. The teams we're playing. I think the two teams we're playing this week are probably more athletic than the two teams we played last week. So you got two different type programs that you're going to have to compete against. So, we'll see. I mean, that's what's exciting about coaching. You get to match wits with the other coaches, with the other teams, and this week will be totally different than what we had to do last week.
We were talking at the post in general. I want to dive into one just for the FIU game. Rebecca Reuter, 18 and 10, her first double-double. She's only been in double figures before that game twice this whole year. How satisfying is that for you as a coach to see her go out and get a double-double off the bench?
Well, the thing that people need to look at, and I have to catch myself sometimes too, is she's only a sophomore. And, very few sophomores, very few freshmen get to participate or really carry a team. Becca's getting a chance to do that as a sophomore, and she's, the biggest year in your collegiate career is between your sophomore and your junior year, and that's when you go back to a lot of our great players here at Middle Tennessee begin stepping up as juniors. Well, right now, if we can get Becca to start doing that right now, that's not going to do anything but make us a contender. I felt like all along that she had the potential to do what she did Saturday. I think her dad did too, and I think two of her biggest supporters would be her dad and myself. But, we had to convince Becca of that. And, once you have a game or two like that, you don't want to go back. You want to, I said this last week, or I said this to you when you were videoing or doing a special on Alex Johnson, that, you want to get to breathe in that rare air. And if we can get her there, that's not going to do anything but help our basketball team.
Now I want to move to your perimeter in the guards. Abby, again, she had 16 points. How do you keep that going consistently? Because if she's hitting on a consistent basis, that's going to open up Bria as well, who constantly faces a double team night in and night out.
Well, it's hard to hit when you don't shoot. Our thing is getting Abby to shoot, and that's one of the things that we've had a hard time convincing her to release the basketball. Abby Sism's a very talented young lady. That's why we recruited her. I felt like that coming out of high school that she was not anywhere near her potential. And I think I've had her now. This will be our second year, and yesterday was probably the most dominant I've seen her since I've had her in practice. I mean, she was absolutely dominant. Now, if we can take that to the playing floor, and I'm excited about Thursday night. Let's see if she can do that Thursday night instead of doing that against the practice team. And if she does, again, that's just going to help her program.
Are you a little surprised because Abby's always been known as a shooter, and here you are having to ask a shooter to shoot more?
Well, again, you're looking at a sophomore. They're thinking in the back of their mind, well, my year will be my junior and senior year, or my time will be my junior and senior year. Well, we've got a little different strategy than a lot of people. We want their time right now. I have no problem playing freshmen and sophomores. And, our thing is just convincing them, hey, you are a big piece of the puzzle right now. Let's don't wait till next year. Let's go get it done right now.
What does it speak of your team in that FIU game where Bria Edwards only had 7 points, but yet you guys are still able to go on and win by 23 points? What does that speak of your team offensively?
Well, what I was more excited about anything, Allen, was the attitude that Bria Edwards had. She's our leading scorer. She had 7 points. She only shot the ball 6 times, and she was the happiest person in the dressing room. You very seldom see that. More times than not, you see that individual pouting and upset with themselves or their teammates because they didn't get their 18 or 19 points. What Bria was happy about was that our team, we had some other players on our team that stepped up. We won a big game. We won it on the road. Now let's go back to Murfreesboro and get ready for La Tech and Southern Miss.
Do you love seeing that out of Bria, showing that leadership?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, Caroline and Bria and Tiana are leading our basketball team. There are 3 seniors, and I am more than happy with the attitude they're exhibiting and also what's going on with the rest of our team right now. The best I've had probably since Ebony Rowe and them has left. And then, I'm not the best I've had since I've been here.
That's a pretty good accomplishment. With you coming back to Murfreesboro, you guys have La Tech Thursday, 6:30 on MT10. You guys are on a 6-game win streak. It's the longest since you guys had a 17-game win streak.
Well, Tony makes a big deal out of that. I told him yesterday not to be making a big deal. I'm glad we're on the win streak. I'd rather be on that win streak as a losing streak. I've been on both ends of it. But, we don't talk about that in practice. We're talking about right now what's La Tech doing offensively. What do they want to do defensively? Who are their best players? What are their tendencies? And, that's where we want to keep our players. We want to keep them in the moment. And because you go to start looking ahead at UAB or Western or Southern Miss, then you lose a game or two. And, and when you get into the tournament, you got to have that mentality. So right now what we're doing is we're training and working on every aspect of what's going to take place when we get to Birmingham in the conference tournament.
To focus just on La Tech, then what do you see from them on film, and what can you expect on Thursday?
I think they're playing pretty good right now. I think Tyler's done a great job. They're a lot better basketball team right now than they were 2 months ago. I saw them 2 months ago on film, and I thought, And then we spent a lot of time in the last, since we left FIU, watching them, and I'm very impressed with what they're doing. I'm very impressed with their shooters. The Wingate kid is probably a WBCA first rounder. No doubt she's going to be playing in the pros. I think Tyler has done a real good job bringing this group around together and getting them to play together. And right now they're sitting there in 3rd place, 1 game away from us in Western Kentucky. So, I think right now he's done their program right now is they've still got a chance to get one of those top 4 slots.
Now, Saturday, Southern Miss, 5 o'clock. I don't want to talk about the game. I want to talk about what the game is about. The Play for K game, the pink out. What does that mean for you each year?
Well, I don't know if I talked to you about this, but Kay Yao was a close friend of mine. When I got hired, I knew Kay for a long time. She recruited a lot of our players at Shelbyville, a lot of the players from the sports shop AAU team, and I'd see her every summer out. And when I got hired here at Middle Tennessee, then I was not everybody's friend anymore because now I was one of them. I was out recruiting, trying to get players. And she was one of the first people that came over, one of the first coaches that came over and sat down by me and said, hey, take a deep breath. Everything's going to be all right. And Pat Summit was another one. And, I'd already developed great relationships with both of them. And then now to be playing Play for K and the pink out, it's special. It's special because, she was a fine lady. Not only a good coach, but a fine lady.
All right, well, thank you for your time, Coach. I wish you good luck against La Tech on Thursday and Southern Miss on Saturday.
Thank you, Allen. Go Blue.
After the break, we're going to take a look at Alex Johnson, a freshman, who, after getting blanked against UAB, averaged just 6.2 points per game in the regular season, and then has gone on to average 16.3 points per game over the next 10 conference games. Figure out what has led to more of her offensive production after the break.
A degree is more than a piece of paper. Your college experience should be exciting, engaging. You should feel proud of your university. With over 140 majors taught by a highly respected and caring faculty and hands-on classes in state-of-the-art facilities, MTSU provides you the training and expertise you need to excel. Middle Tennessee State University is devoted to your success. Discover the MTSU difference. Become True Blue. At Middle Tennessee State University, graduate in 4 and you'll get more. We'll add $500 to your Hope Lottery scholarship after each of your first 2 years. We'll guarantee scholarships to transfer students with a 3.0 GPA or better. And our Finish Line scholarship will give you back any tuition increases. We'll help you graduate in 4 years. We're investing in your success. It's the MTSU Student Success Advantage. Learn more at mtsu.edu/apply.
I am True Blue.
As a member
of this diverse community,
I'm a valuable contributor
to its progress and success.
I am engaged in the life of this community.
I am a recipient
and a giver.
I am a listener
and a speaker.
I am honest in word and deed.
I'm committed to reason, not violence.
I am a learner.
Now and forever.
I am a Blue Raider.
I'm a Blue Raider.
I'm a Blue Raider.
True Blue.
After getting blanked against UAB, Alex Johnson averaged just 6.2 points per game. She has since gone on to average 16.3 points per game over her next 10 conference games. How did she do it? Here you go.
We knew from the get-go she was our priority one in our recruiting. We wanted Alex Johnson, period.
Alex Johnson, the 6-foot freshman from Blackman High School. The start of her freshman campaign was anything but consistent. Besides a 20-point outing against Nevada and 12 points on the road at Xavier, which earned her Freshman of the Week in back-to-back weeks, she averaged just 4.7 points per game in the non-conference part of the schedule.
We got another steal here.
Good turnover down to Ty Petty. A good dish pass over to Alex Johnson, and she can't get it to go. And for a freshman, look at the replay. That could have been her first collegiate 2 points right there.
I guess that's to be expected when you play a non-conference schedule ranked in the top 30th in the nation.
She's played against some of the toughest teams already in the country. She's gone to some of the toughest places. Central Michigan and Ohio were very tough places to play. She played against some of the best post players in the country when we played Kentucky. She played against enormous quickness against Ole Miss.
Alex Johnson, spin move, off the glass, she'll score.
At the beginning of conference play, the coaching staff noticed a few things Alex could work on offensively, which sparked an idea.
And one of the things that Alex was having problems with was flashing to the ball, getting herself open, using her intelligence, using her basketball IQ. And so what we did, we put some clips together of Ebony Rowe. We put some clips together of Alicia Clark, two of the best ones that's ever played here, on how they were setting people up from the time they left the defensive end till they got to the offensive front court. They're setting their man up. And so we wanted to show Alex that.
Just watching these clips, as we can see in this clip, Ebony and Alicia, they start from the high post or the free throw line, and they're constantly working. They're doing their seals or sealing out to keep the man on the opposite post so that they can throw it that way and they can come and meet the ball to score. And just starting from the high post gives you a better positioning, and it doesn't allow your man to stick with you in the entire time because you have the ability to roll to the block or stay high post if you're open.
Right side it goes to Sissom. Underneath, Alex Johnson for a layup, and she'll score.
After getting blanked in the conference opener against UAB, bringing her scoring average to just 6.2 points per game, she has since gone on to average 16.3 points per game over the next 10 conference games.
I think just going in and being able to really just break down and analyze their footwork and what got them open has helped me to get open. Just the whip, the ball faking and putting them in the net. Just every little piece that goes into scoring, you have to do that every possession and just doing it relentlessly.
Lob to John, great pass, and a layup by Johnson.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, perfect offensive execution.
In this play, she's starting high post. She begins her roll. Here, she's sealing the man out as it's being reversed back, and she whips him one more time. Now she sees that there's a double team, so she goes baseline, which is wide open.
Looks to the post, got it into Alex Johnson, spins against the Jemba and scores!
Here she's coming from the opposite block to set the screen, but she rolls hard and she's looking for the ball, and now she's able to score. Coach always talks about, looking for the ball, want the ball when you're screening and you're rolling. Don't just roll without a purpose. You're always rolling with the purpose and with the intentions that you're going to get the ball back to go and score.
Long distance shooting into Johnson, and there's some short distance shooting.
Coach Insell is not shy when talking about Johnson's potential, putting her name with the likes of former player and current WNBA player Alicia Clark and Middle Tennessee's all-time leading scorer and rebounder in Ebony Rowe.
Her offensive skills as a freshman are better than Ebony's offensive skills. To even be compared with those two, Alicia Clark still playing in the pros, Ebony Rowe, our all-time leading scorer and rebounder. Hey, that's, again, you're talking about rare air, and that's where we want her to be. That's where we want her to breathe that and stay there.
He knows where I can go, even if I can't see myself going as far as he thinks I can go. Just having that really continues to push me in practice and on the court when I play the game.
Edwards left side, Bria, skip pass low, Alex Johnson spins off the glass, good, and she is fouled.
Johnson has won Conference USA Freshman Player of the Week honors 4 times this season, 1 award shy from tying Hall of Famer Priscilla Robinson. Even though this is an individual accolade, Johnson gives that credit to her teammates.
Just having that many, it comes, like I said, with teamwork. It's not all about what I've done. It's with my teammates having the confidence to feed me the ball and know that I'm going to go after the ball and put it against the board.
She's a very humble athlete. She's a very intelligent young lady. And, she probably never, to be honest with you, she probably never even thought that she would be a player of the week or a freshman player of the week, if you ask her. I think that's what makes her so special.
Petty to Johnson. Alex into the lane, shot up, and good! Alex Johnson!
At the end of the season, the individual accolades won't mean much to her without accomplishing the team goal they set out to achieve this season.
Just because I have those, the team doesn't have that. I'm all about the team, so if we don't, the championship's the biggest thing. That's what everybody's going for. So if you don't have that in the end, what do you really have?
But come the end of her senior season, what she might have is a career that'll be one for the record books. Welcome back. I'm now joined by head coach Kermit Davis. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great.
But we weren't able to have the show last week, like I told Coach Insell, so I want to touch a little bit on that Marshall WKU weekend series. Just one question on the Marshall game. It snapped your guys' 6-game win streak. They scored over 80, the first time your defense has allowed 80 since Auburn in overtime. Was their pace really what really defined that game?
They got great spacing. They got really good offensive players. Right now, maybe have the best point guard in the league in Elmore. And, 82 is a low number. It's a high number for us, but low number for Marshall. And they went and averaged about 109 on the road last weekend.
Now, we moved to WKU. You guys were able to hang on at the end. You guys had an 18-point lead at halftime. How important was that win, not only from a rivalry standpoint, but also not to let one loss snowball into 2, especially on the road?
Well, our team had a great practice effort on Friday and Saturday. They had a great crowd. Western Kentucky had just come off a great win against UAB, UAB's only loss, and it was a typical Western Middle game. We knew they'd make a run. We hoped it wouldn't have been that close, but then they took the lead, and our guys showed a lot of determination, made some really big plays at the end to win the game.
Now you guys came home, hosted FAU first on Thursday, won by 12. I want to touch on Jaquan Raymond's performance, 15 points. He had 0 points in that Marshall WKU weekend series, his first double-figure points since Toledo. Was that something that really came as a surprise to you, or is that just a big player stepping up in his senior year?
Well, Jaquan has been a great teammate, and he hasn't had the senior year that I know he hoped for and we had hoped for. But it never has deterred his being a good teammate, being on the bench, pulling for other guys, and it's good to see. It's good to see him smiling, good to see him play well, and he was a huge part of both of our wins.
Your defense got back to their normal ways. You guys outscored FAU 21-5 on points off turnovers. Was that really a big difference in that game?
Yeah, it was, and really in both games. And it's been a critical part of our season. You look at some of our stats, and sometimes it doesn't equate to wins. And you say, well, how did we win that game? We're not really rebounding the ball like we have been in the past and early in the year, but points off turnovers. And one thing we do is that we can score off turnovers and we're not turning it over very much ourselves, and that gives you give you a good chance to win.
Giddey Potts, arguably your best three-point shooter on the team. He didn't take a shot from three-point. He didn't make a shot. First time he hasn't made one since VCU. First time all season he hasn't taken a three-point shot. What does that speak about the rest of his teammates, that they stepped up and made shots and were able to get the victory?
Yeah, Giddey didn't have a lot of energy that night. I thought that FAU did a good job really kind of denying him the ball. He stopped working a little bit, then it affected his defense, but I thought he responded really in a real good way against FIU.
And we moved to Saturday against FIU. Diaz, who you talked about in your post-game press conference after the FAU game, is an NBA prospect. He didn't score his first bucket until 7:30 left in the first half. Can you talk about the defense you guys played on? Because it really seemed like anytime he got a touch in that paint, you guys were doing a hard double and forcing somebody else to make a play.
Yeah, we've done a good job on some typical bigs like that, and we did. We had quick double teams. Our perimeter played good around him. Because he's a long guy. He didn't affect us that much blocking shots, but then their four-man Draper got it going, and he played about as well as any four-man has played against us all year.
You mentioned Draper after your FAU game. He kind of had a quiet first half too, and then he came on strong. Was that even really a surprise considering how great of a player Draper is?
No, he's one of those four-man. He's kind of like our four. He can score at all three levels. He can shoot a three, make a mid-range shot. He's a good offensive rebounder. And then what happened, went back and watched the tape, he made some tough shots. I mean, he made some contested threes, some step-back mid-range shots. So give him credit. He played really well.
Some of those, you talk about contested shots, or some of those he makes them, you have to live with it because your defense did all they could except for block the shot.
Yeah, you've got to make them miss. And but one thing we didn't do in the second half, we've been a terrible second-half rebounding team the last 3 games, and it's something we've got to improve on. And they went back and got some 50-50 balls and got some cheap baskets.
I want to talk about Perrin Buford's, not only his weekend, but the last 6 games he's had. He had 16 against FAU, 14 against FIU, double figures in the last 6 games. Can you talk about his weekend and what's really led to more of his offensive production in the last 6 games?
Well, Perrin has been our best practice player. He's been our probably most consistent leader. He went from a guy that was a nonverbal guy a year ago to our most vocal guy in practice. We talk a lot about having the loudest voice in the gym. He does. And he's probably been our most consistent player over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Just maybe not leads us in scoring, but all the different things he does, offensive rebounds, mid-range shots. So he's really had a real solid senior year.
Now, offensively, your point guards, you mentioned at the beginning of the year you really wanted to cut down on the turnovers, and you guys only had 7 against FIU, 9 at WKU, and at home against FAU. How do you keep that going, and what's led to less turnovers? Because that's really been a key for you, is to cut down on those turnovers.
Yeah, it's what you emphasize, and it's been a huge emphasis for us since we've been here in June. And we keep up with a lot of different stats every day, and we've got accumulation of stats from June until right now, and everything goes daily, weekly, and through the year. And so turnovers is a huge stat that we keep every single day in every drill, and I think our guys have bought into it. And it's like football. I mean, it's just sometimes you can play well, but it's just turning the ball over. Alabama has 1 loss this year in football. They turned it over 5 times. So it's just, if you'll take care of the ball, you've got a chance to win nearly every game.
When it comes to late game situations, you mentioned Quay is arguably your best offensive point guard, and Jacob Ivory. You've seen him come on late defensively as well. When it comes down to late situations, is it kind of a feel of how their games have been going, who you go with late?
Yeah, it is. It's just a feel. I probably have more trust with Jacob late game. That's why he's been most of the late games. We went with Jaquan against FIU. Quay is our most talented. I don't have a lot of trust with Quay in the last 3 or 4 minutes of getting stops against really hard dribble penetration. Now, if you need a basket, Quay can go get that. It's good to see Quay went 4 for 4 from the free throw line, because a lot of that having Jacob in the last 2 or 3 minutes. He's one of the top free throw shooters in college basketball. He's shooting about 90%. So to have your point guard in the game late that can make free throws, it's good for your team.
We talked about before you came on, you guys go to La Tech on Thursday, Southern Miss on Saturday. First, the La Tech game. They're 4th in the standings in Conference USA. You guys are 1 game behind. Again, it's a road game, a chance to get +1. How important is this game to not only get that +1, but also in the conference standing in general, because both teams really want this victory?
Well, it's a big weekend. I mean, us and UAB, who's leading the league, we go on the road, and both teams get a chance to get plus. us and UAB are tied at +3. Marshall's +3 now. So really you got three teams in a tie for first if you're looking at the number of road wins and pluses. And we talk about it all the time. Louisiana Tech has a great opportunity. I mean, in one weekend you can flip yourself from being maybe in first place by yourself or thinking I'm in 5th place and am I going to have a first-round bye in the tournament. So that's just the beauty of college basketball and the weekends of going on the road. And Louisiana Tech's a good team, 17 wins. They've won at Ohio State, so we'll have to play really well. And then your last game on Saturday against Southern Miss, they really struggled to score the basketball this season, but you guys can score in the 80s like you did against FAU. You guys won against FIU in the 60s. Are you comfortable if the game's in the 60s or in the 80s, or do you have a preference of what you would want? Well, it's college basketball, really, and a lot of times we've had teams here that needed to be in the 60s to win, but we've proven we can definitely be in the 80s and win, and that's a good feeling, you know, that you can sometimes you just in those scoring games that you have to go get more baskets, but yeah, we've won in all different areas. Southern Miss has had some really good wins at home. They've beaten Old Dominion. They've beaten Texas El Paso. They went on the road and won at FIU. So it's another team. They can't go to our tournament because of the postseason ban, but that team is playing really well, and Doc's got that team playing hard. So it's going to be a difficult road trip. All right, well, good luck on that road trip, Coach, and go get that +2 on the road. I hope so. Thank you. No problem. That'll do it for this week's edition of Inside the Paint. Be sure to join us next week for all your news in Blue Raider basketball.